So 6, 7, 8 hours in the water, obviously it's a physical toll. What's your mind going through? What are you telling yourself during this time?
Sure.
Hey guys, welcome to a special edition of Cruisin' with Zach. It is cold and 17 degrees outside, but it is warm and toasty in the 2014 pre-owned Nissan Pathfinder. Today I am with Sam Elko. Sam, welcome on the show.
Thanks a lot for having me.
So, basically you are a marathon swimmer, to put it short.
Yes, I would say was, but yeah. Yeah, I guess I am again now, huh?
Right, so that's interesting in itself, right? So we'll talk about that. But
Okay.
You're doing it for a special cause. Tell us about the Around the Island swim for people that are not familiar with it.
Sure. So the Around the Island swim is an open water marathon swim that really, it started in the 50s. And then it kind of disappeared for a little while and then made a comeback in the 70s, and it was in existence in the 80s, 90s, 2000, 2006, I think was the last year that it ran, as a marathon swim. And yeah, it's a 22.5-mile swim around, what's known as Absecon Island, but most people, most people call it Atlantic City. But you've got Atlantic City, Ventnor, Margate, and Longport. And 22.5 miles of fun.
So the last time they swam it was 2006.
2006, yep.
Why did it go away?
You know what, I'm not 100% sure why. I wasn't really involved in it at the time, but I know it is a huge undertaking. I mean, it is a major event that you really have to have a lot of support. You have to have a lot of safety personnel. Like, there's just a lot of time and energy that it takes, and for a professional marathon race, sponsorship money as well. So it's a lot of work.
Gotcha. So when it was originally swam, it was international, people from all over the world, and people may or may not know this. This is someone's job. They're on a circuit to do these races around the world.
Correct, yeah. And there's a professional marathon circuit, and there are professional marathon swimmers. Now, since they have a marathon now, open water marathon in the Olympics, it's referred to more as ultra marathons at this point.
Okay.
Anything, 10K is now known as the marathon distance. But back when I was swimming, a marathon was 25K or higher. So now there's been a little bit of a shift with open water in the Olympics, which is phenomenal. It's great. So now that the shift is kind of, now you've got these ultra marathons that are considered anything 25K, which is about a little more than 16 miles or higher.
Okay, and I can already see the viewers trying to correlate a running marathon to a swimming marathon. They're like, all right, if it takes me about 3 hours to run it, how long does it take to swim 22.5 miles?
So my fastest time, when I did it, I finished it 3 times. My fastest time, I think, was like 7.5 hours. The year that I won it was about 7:40. But my slowest time was probably in the 8.5 hour range. So it really depends on the condition, and that's the great thing about open water swimming is every race, every day, all the conditions are always different, which is just, it just makes it a really fun and interesting event. So yeah, you're talking anywhere from, I think the record might be in the 6 hour range, but yeah, you're talking anywhere from 6 to 9 hours or longer. I mean, there are people who it does take them a lot longer, but
so 6, 7, 8 hours in the water, obviously it's a physical toll. What's your mind going through? What are you telling yourself during this time?
Sure. Well, actually, the great thing about the Atlantic City marathon is that your mind is really occupied more so than other marathons that I've done. The great thing about Atlantic City is you've got, we always traditionally started on the ocean side. So we start in Gardner's Basin, you swim out to the ocean side. You've got the casinos, you've got, just the beauty of the Atlantic Ocean. You've got all of that kind of, occupying your mind for the first 3 hours or so, however long it takes you to get down to Longport.
Yeah.
And then you make that turn into the back bays, and there is nothing like the people, the parties. I mean, you're right there with the spectators, which is so unique. Like, typically you don't get that in an open water swim. You're out in the middle of the ocean or a lake somewhere. So that is just what swimmers and non-swimmers love about this swim, is that you are up close and personal with people partying on their decks, and even just the uniqueness of having lifeguard boats. You know, typically you're not allowed to draft off of a lifeguard boat, but just having that little bit of a different, you know, special little rule for this race that is so special just makes a huge difference.
Yeah, especially when you get back into Ventnor, where you have the boats on, or the houses on both sides.
Yes, you can't beat it.
So just in case you do breathe to both sides.
That's right.
Yeah, you can soak it all in.
I mean, there's certainly times where you kind of zone out and you just, you know, all you're hearing is the splashing of the water in your ears, really. You'll hear your trainers and your rowers yelling at you, but there are certainly times where you kind of zone out a little bit. But
now, do you have like a playlist in your head, or are you like, man, when I get home, like I got to do the laundry? Like what's going on upstairs?
Well, I mean, for me, I think, you know, you're also eating and drinking every 15 minutes or so. So for me, my clock.
What are you eating and drinking?
Yeah, so my clock was always like, okay, what's my next feeding? You know, so every 15, for me, generally speaking, it was every 15 minutes was definitely something to drink, and then usually at the top of the hour, it was something with a little bit more calories. So maybe a banana, maybe some kind of shake that we made up concoctions with like baby food and like all different kinds of stuff just to keep calories in you. It's a long day, you know, you got to keep eating. So yeah, that's kind of was my, you know, my clock. Every time I was getting something a little bit more than just fluid, I was like, oh, okay, that's another hour by.
Wow. What is your training looking like right now?
Yeah, so it's funny. 20 years, you know, it's been 20 years really since I've trained, and training now looks a lot different than it did 20 years ago. You know, at 20 years ago, you know, you're in college, right out of college, and you know, you're training to compete on this circuit. So it's been a little bit of a shift for me, which isn't always easy. I'm a very competitive person, but it's been a shift to, you know, this really isn't about me. It's really just about, you know, having that goal in 2020 of bringing back this professional swim. So my training does definitely look different. I mean, I'm training about 7 to 9 times a week, so I really just jump in any opportunity I have. So it doesn't always look the same every week. With 3 kids and a husband and a full-time job, it's, you know, it's get in when I can. So I train usually 3 or 4 times in the morning before work, and then I can jump in with you know, my husband's club team at night. So I usually try to get in like Saturday and a Sunday, and maybe 1 or 2 nights a week, but that gets real tricky.
Oh God! And now, who do you have in the boat for you?
So right now, my trainer is hopefully going to be my college coach. Her name is Marion Cassidy Clark, and it's funny, my first memory of open water swimming was, of course, the Around the Island swim. I'm a local girl. I've lived in EHT my whole life. And I was a swimmer growing up, so my best friend lived in Absecon, and her family used to host swimmers every year, and they always hosted the Argentinians. So we got to know the Argentinians really well, and really all the swimmers, because you're just hanging out with everybody all week. And so I was probably about 12 years old. I think it was 1988 when I was really my first memory of the Around the Island swim, and Marion Cassidy was the American girl that I watched go around, and that was really like kind of sparked, you know, my interest, my love for open water swimming.
Wow.
So she ended up, very long story, but she ended up being my coach in college. I swam at Pitt. She was my coach there, and I also swam for her brother Sid when I was in high school on the Atlantic City Beach Patrol. So it's kind of like a crazy connection and a crazy story, but all good. And both of them have really instilled a love for open water swimming.
Yeah, Sid's a good guy.
Great. Yep.
Great guy. All right, so what do we have to do to bring this back?
So, I mean, there's not a whole lot to do for my swim for 2019.
Right.
Really, the goal for that is really just to kind of build up excitement, get it on people's minds again. But really, we're already working now on, you know, what we need for 2020. We're really hoping to get USA Swimming involved. We're hoping to get FINA on board as well. Like, we have a lot of big goals. So I think at this point, we're building a contact list of people who are interested in volunteering, or really in just just learning more about what we're doing. So we're working on building that contact list now, and then building up our list of, you know, all the different categories of things that, you know, we need to be working on in the next year and a half to, you know, hopefully pull this off.
Yeah, because right, it is quite the undertaking. And this is something personal and near and dear to my family, because we also did host swimmers.
Yes.
And it's just such a cool event. So shout out to Karina and Gabby and Alexis. Get back in the pool. We're bringing it back. 2020. Shed the weight. It's coming back. Sam, thank you so much.
Thank
and
you
good luck.
so much.
Best of
Thanks.
luck in the swim.
Thanks.
See you guys.